Right now, millions of young men feel lost about what it actually means to be a man. They're bombarded with noise. Be whoever you want. Do whatever you feel. Yet inside, they're empty, tired, and searching for something real. But here's the part no one wants to admit. Deep down, we all crave clarity, direction, a sense that we're on the right path to manhood. That's why I recently sat down with 3 young men to unpack these questions honestly. No fluff, no pretending. In this episode, we're going to decode what young men secretly want but won't say out loud, why so many guys feel like they're failing the masculine journey, and how to rebuild purpose, resilience, and strength. Stick around, because if you're tired of feeling aimless, this conversation could be the first step toward becoming the man you were born to be. So, we're talking about masculinity. We're talking especially about decoding masculinity through the perspective of a young man in 2025. And the reality that there's a challenge going on for young men today, I believe, which is why you gents are here. We've got Marcus, Nick. No, we don't. We have Marcus, Joel, and Nick in that order. Married, just married, teasing the ladies by not yet being married.
There's
all
anyone
in
out
their
there watching
20s,
this podcast?
all in various aspects of business, all in leadership. So these gents are here to help us to decode where it's at for the masculine journey for young men. And I want to start with this question. Any of you jump in as you want to. Is it getting harder for young men to navigate the masculine journey in 2025? If it is, why? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it definitely is harder. Whether or not it's getting harder is an interesting one, but I definitely think it is harder.
Right. In
Definitely
what way? Tell us. What do you see?
Yeah, I feel personally that, the pendulum's swung from, probably back when you grew up, having conversations with yourself and many other older men. The pendulum's definitely swung. And I feel like maybe it's not as extreme now as it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago,
Right.
which is good. But it definitely is hard for young men. And
So I'm presuming that you're sort of inferring there around societal pressures.
yeah,
Would that be fair? Yeah. Okay.
definitely there's a
Yep.
societal pressures, and like I said, the pendulum has swung really extreme to, you hear these terms thrown out there like toxic masculinity.
Right.
And so you have a young generation coming up and hearing those things.
Yes.
And it's difficult to navigate that because they're being told what to think,
Yes.
and there's a narrative around it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do think that we are in a time now where it's starting to swing a little bit because people are starting to realize, I guess, you know, how wrong some of these narratives are
Right.
out there.
Yep.
They don't actually have a lot of basis or data. It's just often someone that's had a bad experience
Right. Okay.
and then has put everyone into one basket.
Yep.
So I think we actually have a unique opportunity right now where people will hear this side
Yes.
of the argument, which maybe 3 to 5 years ago would be a little harder to
Yep.
get that across.
I'm going to come back in a minute to what I think you're referring to there around this side, because there's stuff to unpack there. But what about yourselves, Joel, Marcus? Is it getting harder for young guys? I mean, you guys are in your 20s, and you've got lots of mates in their 20s as well. Is it getting harder? Why so?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of confusion
Okay.
out there. I have to agree with Nick. Like, I think there is a bit of a shift, like in what I guess like our environments, and I think that arises from like I guess people like yourself bringing it to the light and addressing it, like people who have lived in that season
Yep.
in the past, and
Yes.
it's like, hey, this isn't right. This doesn't something doesn't feel right about
Yep.
what is playing out in the world right now.
Okay.
And I think that's happened in say that 2 or 3 years ago for a time, and that's sparked like guys like yourself to speak up and really address it.
Yes.
So I think that brings like shines the light, and I think what now maybe Nick is referring to is possibly that light's been shone, and
Yes.
and now people are a bit more aware of like, hey, this is kind of
Yeah.
there's no fruits to this, like
Yeah,
there's no
gotcha.
substance.
Yep.
Exactly.
And so I have to agree with that. And also I have to, like, I guess in my own sense, like, just what I kind of come across in the workplace is just like the skill of people like coming into the workforce is just, it's almost like it's dropped, like, and it's dropping like even more, like it
Yeah.
just like at a bad rate. And so I don't know whether that it might have something to do with the masculinity thing
Right.
and purpose in guys' life. Like,
Yes.
what's their purpose?
Yeah.
Yes.
And where do they find that purpose in their job roles
Yes.
and in their relationships?
Yes.
And I really think that they're not finding any purpose because things are just, I guess, too hard.
Okay.
And they're not able to work through hard situations or
Yeah,
difficult
gotcha.
things and
Yep.
go through those hard times and then poke out the other end and become bigger, stronger, and more of a resilient man.
Yes.
Um,
You've touched on quite a few factors there that I think are important, and I'm going to come to you with this as well, Marcus. But you use the word confusion, and part of what we're doing in this conversation today is we're deliberately setting up a contrast, right? So I'm 50. I'm clearly a middle-aged man. It's been a long time since I was in my 20s, like you guys are. And we were talking just before we started recording about this idea that when I was in my 20s, 25 to 30 years ago, there wasn't a lot of confusion around masculinity, around that journey from boyhood to manhood, etc. Even things like you mentioned, Joel, around this pairing of masculinity has resilience built in. You didn't have to talk about that as a maybe or a question. It was assumed. So when I was in my 20s, there wasn't a lot of confusion for young guys around, but it seems like today there's lots of confusion and all manner of confusion.
Yeah.
So Marcus, give us your view on that. So you're involved, as all three of you gents are, in mentoring young people and training them and helping them to get on the right track in life. And so you guys are on the real coalface of dealing with these conversations.
Yeah.
What do you think about my original question and particularly this confusion issue?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I guess the prevailing sort of idea that comes up in conversation with a lot of young guys. I work with primarily teenagers, so
Yep.
under the age of 18, and with a lot of young adults as well, around that 19 to 20 mark.
Yep.
And a lot of the confusion lies around identity and who they are.
Yeah.
Okay.
I find that a lot of teenagers, young adults just don't understand. Well, first of all, they don't have a direction in their life.
Okay.
They have so many options, and I think with the rise of like technology and phones and I guess social media and that sort of thing, they're just constantly bombarded with here's an opportunity to do this. Like, look at this person living this sort of life. Look at this sort of I don't know, just like so many different goals and opportunities that they may or may not do in life, and sort of instead of them actually choosing one of those goals or careers or ideas,
Yep.
they end up sort of like in a I forgot what it's called. It's just like an indecision paralysis sort of thing.
Yeah, right.
So then they end up just not being able to decide, okay, maybe I'll choose this career, maybe I'll pursue this goal or financial
Yes.
dream or something like that.
Yep.
They become just like aimless,
Yes.
just a rudderless ship, just
Yeah,
sort
yeah.
of just being floated with whatever the current trends are or whatever the loudest voice is saying.
Yeah, okay.
That is what they end up following or becoming.
Yes.
So I guess for men, young men especially, same thing. I think there is sort of a the pendulum swinging back.
Right.
It is very slow.
Yes.
But I just remember only a few years ago when I was growing up, there was just so much, or not so much. There wasn't a lot of emphasis on like the roles of a man. Like
Yeah.
what do you do? You know, like in the future you're going to be a father one day.
Right.
You know, like what are these values that we need to instill in your life, Marcus? Like
Yes.
that was never a conversation that I
okay.
had with anyone. It was only until I guess only the past couple of years when I got involved with I guess better communities,
Yeah.
Yes.
I was able to have those sort of voices, helping direct where my life was.
Tell
Yeah,
us, what age are you now?
I'm 25.
What age were you when that awareness went off in your brain, that realization, oh, I haven't been schooled in what these roles should look like? How long ago was that?
Probably um maybe 3 or 4 years ago is when I
Okay,
guess
late teens.
the light switched
Right.
on.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess even 18, 19, I was still in that state of
Yes.
like identity searching,
Yes.
like what do I do with my life? Who am I? Like what's my role as a man?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that never was a question until I guess the the 21, 22
Which is
years of
a
age.
big deal, right? Because if we assume that you guys are close enough to a cross section of most young blokes in their 20s, which I think is fair, and you're pointing out this realization, not only did I not know the answer to the question, I didn't even know there was a question I needed to ask.
True. Very true.
Would that be fair of a lot of our young guys in society, do you think? Kind of somewhat oblivious, not through their own fault, but just oblivious to the fact that there are smart questions to ask, like, who am I? Where am I going? Who can help me get there? Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know what it is, but I feel like I guess with social media and technology, the rise of it, I a lot of young, not just young men, but young people in general, are failing to ask questions. They can't critically think. They can't think for themselves.
Right.
In general, they are so used to being force fed information like on a silver platter.
Yeah, okay.
They no longer are able to go, oh wait a second. I know this has been told to me my whole life, but this is actually not good for me.
Mm,
And they can't even ask that question. They don't know that
okay.
that's something that they can do.
Yes.
They don't feel like they have capacity to challenge
Yes.
what the prevailing thought is.
Yeah.
Hey guys, if you're enjoying this content, I'd love you to subscribe to my newsletter. I call it Original Masculinity Letters to Men. I'm writing to inspire you and encourage you on your masculine journey on the way to recovering your masculine heart. If you'd love to be part of that, there's a link in the description below. Click on that, and that's how you can join and get these newsletter episodes that come out regularly.
So, all right, so you guys have brought out these ideas, right? So confusion, purpose, identity, resilience, and I think they're all correlated together. But I want to sort of pivot a little bit. And again, let's bring this contrast. I'm a middle-aged man. I will get alleged by many others of being out of touch, irrelevant, etc., purely because of my demographic. Now, I'm not so weak that I buy into it or get bothered by it, but it will still go on, right? So let me throw in your direction a view that I hold, and then you guys just go at it, pick it apart if you disagree, or challenge it, but give me what you believe your thought is on this, but also tell us what you think other guys are thinking, right? So here's my view, piggybacking off your comments, Marcus, right? This absence of role models and people to show the way. I have this very staunch belief, which I talk about on the channel here often, and it's this idea that masculinity or manhood, strength as a man, whatever parlance you want to use, masculinity can only be bestowed by masculinity. Which naturally, I'm being prejudiced in my view. I'm being prejudiced towards my strong belief that only a man can bestow manhood on a boy.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people will pick that up as a criticism against women. No, I put no pressure on myself to be able to bestow femininity. I haven't got much. So I have a daughter and a son, as you guys know, and I don't try to do the role of their mother because I'm not their mother. I'm their father.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that we live in a world that is, a little bit prickly. He said only men can bestow manhood. How controversial. Really? Am I just an aging dinosaur, or does that still hold truth?
It holds a lot of truth, and I'll give you an example. I was on Instagram a couple of days ago, and I follow this dad who his account is he's got 3 boys, I think,
Right.
and they're all between the age of about 5 to 10 years old. And his whole Instagram account is about how to raise boys into
Okay.
men. And so he put this reel up, and it was basically him talking about how important. He had like 6 to 8 things,
Uh-huh.
but some of them were they were all examples of how to raise boys into men. And
Yep.
here's how you need to. Here's how you, as a father, shape your son,
Yes.
and shape who he becomes when it comes to becoming a man.
Yep.
And there was things like rough play, so it was like mucking
Okay.
around, tackling, wrestling, that kind of stuff.
Yes.
It was like imaginative play, so he'd build things. You know, it was play like actually showing them how to build stuff.
Yes.
So if he needs to fix something, go and help them. Let them watch you. Put something in their hands so they can help.
Right.
And it was awesome. I'm looking at it. I'm like, this is great. Like, these are the things I do with Jesse, and I want to do with Jesse. Jesse's my 2.5-year-old boy. And it's so funny. The first comment on this Instagram account, it was a lady, and she was a mum. And she basically said, "Oh, how dare you say that, this is how you need to raise boys." She essentially went on the tangent that this is how you raise bad men, and this is why there's toxic masculinity in the world. And I was laughing as I was
Wow.
reading it, because it was an unfortunate example of a dad just being a dad,
Right.
instilling what I think are really good values into
Yeah.
his son.
Absolutely.
He was a Christian man as well. He had scripture to back it up, and back up what he was doing and teaching. I was like, this is awesome. He's a dad, like you said, a man raising men, or raising boys into
Yes.
men.
Yes.
And then he was someone else saying, "Oh, you can't do that.
Yes.
That's you need to raise them a different way."
Yes.
And I was like, it just really spotlighted where
Yep.
things are at.
It's out there, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
here's a crazy thought, right? Imagine someone coming out publicly and saying, I'm on social media maybe, and saying, I'm so glad that I've been an effective football coach as a result of being an expert on that sport.
Yeah.
Imagine someone getting on that post as a tennis coach and going, how offensive. how dare you? What, just because you know football, you're trying to say that because I'm a tennis lover, I don't know football? Yes, that's exactly what we're saying.
Yeah.
Nobody gets offended.
No.
But with this one, mate, it stirs people up.
And
So
that's- I did-
why do people,
yeah.
why is it hated?
It's because I mentioned it before when we opened up. People unfortunately have had bad experiences of men, and I think that for this lady, I don't know her story. I have absolutely
Right.
no idea about it, but clearly something has shaped her worldview to
Yes.
then look at a dad who we would all say he's been a great role model.
Right.
He's helping me. Like, the
Yes.
first thing I wanted to comment, and I didn't, but I probably should have, and say, mate, thanks so much. Like, thanks for putting content out there that's going to help me as a dad.
Yes.
Because, someone else was jumping on and straight away just pointing the finger. And,
Yes.
I like to look at it through the lens of grace. I don't want to just point the finger. And I
Sure.
think that obviously there's been something in someone's world to make this comment and to see things this way. So I think that this is really important because it's education and it's
Yes.
spotlighting.
Yep.
Marcus said it before, Joel alluded to it as well, is that I said it, like, I think we're in a really important window in time right now
Yes.
where we can bring education to it
Yep.
and help people understand that just because the loudest voice is
Yes.
screaming at them doesn't
Yes.
mean it's the right voice.
That's right.
And so, I think us understanding that, and especially even when we communicate it
Yep.
from a certain way where it's like, well, that might be your experience. However, that's not really the truth. That's not what we believe in.
Yes.
And so, sort of shaping it that way.
Yeah, you are right. There's a lot of challenge around it. And I look at this correlation, right? I'm going to come to you with this, Joel. You look at the obvious correlation. We are living in the greatest era of fatherlessness,
Yeah.
probably in the history of humanity.
Yeah.
In conjunction with that, we see the statistics, especially across Western countries. The statistics, you cannot ignore them unless you bury your head deep in the sand.
Yeah.
And what I mean is, when there's not a father or a father figure, okay, so for example,
I have been that to many. You guys are already that, you know, still in your 20s, 1 2-year-old, no children that we know of, no children at this end of the lounge, but still father figures in people's lives.
Definitely.
And the stats they are frighteningly in your face.
Yeah.
Remove the father or the father figure,
Yeah.
the crime rates, the suicide rates, the addiction rates, the incarceration rates, the school dropout rates, the broken family rates go through the roof. So the assumption is clear. Take dads and men out of the picture. Young men and young people do not do better, generally speaking. So, Joel, if it's so strikingly obvious, why do we still have so much backlash against it? And should people like us just ignore the backlash and get on with trying to reach those who need to be reached?
Yeah, that's very interesting. Those stats.
Yeah.
That those negative outcomes skyrocket.
Yes.
Without that father figure.
Yep.
And I think what Nick said was really great. And I just want to touch on this thought that I had in response to that about we're being given platforms that have just been handed and like sat on our lap.
Yep.
And that's driven like this entitlement for everyone to raise their voice and
Yes.
opinion. And we're, as humans, we have like so mishandled that platform that we've been given. And we haven't been good stewards of that.
Yes.
And I guess for guys like that guy that you were talking about who is being a good dad and trying to show like the world that, hey, this is a voice that we can stand in, and like this is how we can raise our kids or the next generation.
Yep.
And that puts a lot of pressure when there's someone like this female, for example, this woman. I'm not dissing any females, just this, for example, that when they voice their opinion and this guy's been exposed to it, to something that's pretty private to him, but yes, it is on his behalf to put it out there.
Sure.
Those guys who are a bit passive and weak in that situation will crumble.
Yes.
Because of too much pressure and too much noise placed over their life. And I've always loved this thought and ideology that tough times create strong men.
Yep.
Strong men create good times create weak men.
Yes.
And I think like the weak men creating those tough times is what I guess you're alluding to with like those the crime rates and like without that father figure.
Yep.
Could potentially be from weak men that have gone before us.
Yes.
Possibly.
I think it's one component for sure.
And now that might be on the other end of the cycle, that those guys who have gone through tough times are realizing, hey, there's another way to live this life. We've been through a bit.
Yes.
And they've grown some balls, so to speak, and grown a bit of resilience and figured out that what was missing in their life, like as they were going through, that the next guy needs that installment and like installment and that deposit into the next generation.
100%.
And I think that's what the bit of the shift is that you were alluding to at the start of this talk.
Yes.
Maybe that shift in culture.
Yes.
That's starting to kind of play out.
I think you're right. I think you're right. And as you touched on at the start, that there is a bit of a pendulum swing back from certainly 4 or 5 years ago, where the prevailing narrative was do what you want, be who you want, as long as you're not like this started to come in my early years, as long as you're not hurting anyone, do what you want was the mantra. Well, that's like gotten on steroids in the last couple of decades. And it feels like it peaked a few years ago,
I think
but it does seem like there's a little bit of intelligence coming back to the contemplation, which is, hang on, we followed that advice. It didn't seem to work out that well. Maybe there's a better way. And if that's happening, I love that, because what that reflects is a more common sense approach. And I want to bring this back to you again, Marcus, a more common sense approach around evidence-based material. The sky is green.
Yeah.
All the evidence suggests it's blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like it's green. Are you trying to tell me that my opinion about a green sky is not as important as your opinion of... Yes, that's what I'm saying. How offensive? Well, okay, offense is your choice, bro. I can't make you be offended, but you can choose to. And
I'm not afraid to say this stuff, not for the sake of controversy, but because I think it needs to be said,
Yeah.
and that is there isn't a thing called equality of opinions. Some opinions are crap.
It's true.
You go, well, how do you measure it? Who gets to choose? Well, just sit around long enough and watch the evidence. And if the evidence of an opinion produces rubbish results, how can you hold it up against other advice that gets great results and suggest they're the same? They're clearly not. So on that basis, coming to you again, Marcus, this idea of our young men, it is our young women as well, but, we particularly want to try and speak to the young men watching. This purpose of life thing. Are we at a point yet where we're starting to see enough negative outcomes from young men who've chased money, chased women, chased hedonism, chased self-pleasuring, and I'm not saying that to distract us into a whole other subject. That's coming up on our episode on masturbation. No, that's another day. But to pleasure the soul and just to live for yourself, really, just very narcissistic living. And as we know, that leaves people very broken, very empty, very disillusioned. Is that kicking in yet for our young men, or do we need to travel down the roller coaster a bit longer yet? What do you think?
Yeah, I think we've travelled pretty far enough down.
Right.
Moral relativism, I think that's the word, is where a lot of people just consider truth as subjective or
Yes.
like self-defining.
Yes.
I can see it across my peers that it's I don't know what it is, that there's just like a consistent self-realization across a lot of I'm pretty involved in church sphere. It's not just that sphere.
Right.
I have friends in the secular building sphere and mates from school. A lot of people are just starting to come to a realization that this direction of just self-defining truth is just not working.
You think that's starting to happen?
Yes.
What shows you that? What do you hear? What do you see? What hints are dropped for you to think that?
Yeah, well, from my perspective, from the conversations I had, I've been having, is that people have just been critical of
Right.
I guess this, I don't know how to call it, the liberal moral relativistic sort of
Yes.
thought.
Progressivism.
Progressivism.
Do anything. Yep.
Yeah, do anything you want. Do what you feel.
Yep.
Don't do what's right.
Yep.
That they're just critical of it. They're starting to understand that, like you just said, there are trends that follow. Like, how do I know that this is a table? It's because it looks like a table, feels like a table. Yes. How do we know it's a duck? Quacks like a duck, sounds like a duck. It's probably a duck.
Yes.
That's the conversation.
You forgot it's yellow. That's part of the saying as well. There are other coloured ducks as well.
There are brown ducks.
Yeah. Oh, I was so tempted to do a line there, but I won't do it. It's for another episode. Yes, go on.
That's the prevailing conversation, that they're starting to understand, hey, look, like what we're seeing on our phones, this doesn't make sense anymore.
Yes.
Like, why are people continuing to act like this if they're just continuing to produce poor outcomes, like you said? So it's a slow reawakening, but I think we're just at the slight incline right now, and they're pushing really hard to understand, okay, what is the truth then? If this isn't right, what is the real answer? And I think we're getting close to that now.
Yeah. Joel, what do you think?
Yeah, I've got something to add to that, Marcus. You've sparked a thought in my thinking, and I think social media is a massive thing.
It is big, yeah.
Because that kind of delusional, progressive thoughts of there's reality and then there's delusion.
Yes.
What are we living in? If we're living in delusion, we don't know what reality is. And if we're spending so much time and our energy on our phones and onto Facebook and social media, Instagram, all these different platforms that grab our attention, we become separated from that reality sphere.
Yes.
And we're living in a kind of delusional kind of state.
Yes.
Whether we like it or not, or whether we're strong-willed or not, we are being pulled from the reality into like a fake kind of world.
Yes.
On the internet and in that
sure.
realm. And I think over the years, I think like maybe even humanity has like adapted to that with the
Mm.
introduction of social media.
Yep.
And that it has maybe taken maybe 7 or 8 years or 10 years, and like that has shifted us, that shifted our culture.
Yep.
And I guess now we're like, oh, we've kind of turned into this
Mm.
kind of human being from what we've been
Yes.
inputting into our minds, our
Correct.
bodies, and our souls.
Yes.
And I think that now we're starting to like become awakened to the fact
Yes.
that this is not a good way to live.
Yeah, yeah.
And I
for
think
sure.
that might be what
Yep.
people are coming to with like in the church space and non like secular space. People are starting to realize
Yes.
that there's no substance
Right.
to what he's doing.
Yep.
Whereas if you go back to say when you were growing up,
Yes.
there was
Black
no
and white TV,
black and white TV.
horse and carriage.
You'd want to run out and play with your cricket
Right.
bat and your football or
Yep.
whatever it was
sure.
in the backyard,
For
and
sure.
then you can see like you test the fruits of like what were people doing back then
That's
that was
right.
different to now,
That's right.
and then what are the outcomes
Yes.
from
absolutely.
those people,
Yeah, absolutely.
and you can draw the parallels and then
Yep.
make the assumption that it's clearly different.
Yes.
Mm.
I mean, personally, I am greatly encouraged to hear both of you making those comments because, you know, I don't mix in the circle with young adults anywhere near as much as I used to in previous career and so forth. And so I'm a little bit in the dark about what conversations go on and what thoughts get shared, you know, when people are being honest and so forth. But I am really encouraged about that. And, you know, maybe if, even for young guys who are watching, we're trying to encourage you, be a critical thinker. Challenge the status quo. Look at evidence-based material and look at the results of pathways and maybe give yourself permission to have the courage to say, hang on, this is broken. There's got to be a different way. And I hear that coming through from you guys, which is encouraging. I wonder maybe if this whole journey, if you like, or the time continuum of truth relativity, which is, it's not a new thing, to be fair. I mean, you could go back to almost every generation. You could go back to the birth of rock and roll in the 1940s. And there was this notion in society, you know, the rebel class. There was always a portion of society that was challenging things. But it does feel like the last 10 to 20 years, truth relativity has gotten way out of shape. And I liken it a little bit.
Too much access to information.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, this is going to be a bit of a funny metaphor, but work with me for a moment. To me, what's happened over the past little while, last decade particularly, is people's relationship to truth has been a little bit like their relationship to McDonald's. Now, what I mean is most people enjoy McDonald's on the tongue. You know, if you love a quarter pounder and that thought comes to your mind and you think, oh, like you're there, you are unboxing
Don't
that
tempt
quarter.
me. You know my diet. And
You
quarter
know.
pounder is.
If you dream about it, your taste buds are starting to go. But you also know about 45 minutes later, everything in your system is saying, you idiot, you moron. Why did you stuff those 7 quarter pounders in your face? If you're eating 7 quarter pounders, you got to stop that. But you know what I mean? There's this preliminary joy attached to the taste, but it's attached to the recklessness of the experience.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's gone on with truth relativity is it became novel and fun to be so silly that you didn't even believe yourself, but you were viewed as being enlightened.
Interesting.
If you came out with things like, oh yeah, a boy is a boy. No. Don't you, you poor, impoverished, archaic soul. Didn't you know the world has moved on? A person can be any one of 928 genders. In fact, they can be a cat if they want to be. There was a period of time where I think the world fell in love with that sloppy junk food taste in their mouth, where it's like, yeah, we're free to reinvent the world.
Yeah.
Okay, well, go for it. But look at where it's gotten us to.
Yeah.
We are all walking around with 3 months of McDonald's food in our gut and we're not better for it.
Yeah.
Am I in this weird zone of my own self-delusion, or is that what we've seen going on? And if it's true, are we starting to see a renaissance of what we used to call self-evident? You know, Marcus or one of you knocked the table and went, it's a table. You know, if it's yellow, it waddles
Are
and
you
it
sure
quacks.
it's a table? Are you
It's probably
sure?
a duck. You know, in philosophical terms, we call that something is self-evident.
Yeah.
In other words, it doesn't need the addition of extra language to describe it, which is what I say on the channel about masculinity. And that's why I propagate there's no such thing as toxic masculinity, because masculinity was already self-evident, existential, and thoroughly described in itself.
Yeah.
Can't add to it.
Yeah.
You know, there's no point saying the amazing blue sky is different to the blue sky. It was finished at blue sky, right?
Yeah.
But we've lived through this era where seems like there's been this thrill of bending conservatism and bending values just for the sake of it.
Yeah.
How reckless can we get? How wild can we get? But do you guys see that?
Yeah.
And are we hopefully seeing a renaissance, Nick, back to some common sense stuff?
Back to some common sense. Yeah, look, everyone wants freedom, right? No one wants to be
Sure.
chained up and in jail and locked away. So I think it all started, with people wanting freedom.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's a slippery slope because what is freedom? What
Right.
does that look like?
Yep.
And when you chase the wrong things that are masquerading themselves as freedom, you end up chained. And so you actually get the
You
opposite
get
of
the
what
opposite.
you were looking for.
Yes.
And yeah, it's a trap. And, if we talk biblical terms, you look back to the serpent in the Garden of Eden, and what was the first question that he posed to Adam and Eve, to Eve at the time, was, did God really say? And his tactics, I'm convinced, have not changed. They're still the same today.
Right.
It's still
Deception.
it's deception.
Yeah.
It's, did God really say? So you look at you could name a number of things, but when someone chases this idea of freedom, let's talk about a concept as a man. So let's talk about sex within marriage, right? So we believe that sex within marriage is a God ordained thing, and sex should happen within the concept of a marriage, right? And so, but you can have another man that can say, well, that's not freedom because that's within a boundary. And so I'm going to go outside that boundary and do it how I want. But then, you have the negative results of
Yes.
that. And there's a whole long list of them.
Yes.
So basically, I don't think the tactics have changed. It's still, did God really say?
Yes.
And whether you consider yourself a Christian or not, I think the same question gets posed. It's
Yes.
like, well, is that actually freedom? What is
Yes.
freedom? And so I think people started there and it just went down the slippery slope.
Yeah, well, I think especially as it pertains to our young men, it's a big deal issue in the sense of there is this deceptive trap.
Yeah.
And the deceptive trap is throw off all shackles, right? Throw off restraint.
Yeah.
Do whatever the bloody hell you like. And people do. And what they often end up doing is they go wild.
Yeah.
And they become, given enough time, they become a shadow of a human, let alone a man. And the trap and the lie is they are lured by the thought of total freedom is freedom. But what they actually end up in is chaos.
Yeah.
And what and I agree, I believe our young men, should they enjoy life? Absolutely. Should they go after their goals? 100%. Should they enjoy experiences like travel and movement and being healthy and fit and building business? Do all of it. But the absence of any boundaries is a huge trap. And look, I want to ask all three of you this question as it pertains to that, because we've sort of moved through this idea that there's a bit of a wake up going on. At least we hope. We think there is, and we hope there is. And the wake up being around this idea that, just going wild and doing whatever you want doesn't actually work. It destroys you. What do you guys think? This is not for you now. This is for all the other young men that you think of and might know. What are our young men in today's world crying out for and maybe too afraid to articulate and admit to? What is the cry of a young man's heart? You can pick two or three if you want. You can agree with each other or have different points. But what is the silent cry in the hearts of our young men? The things that they won't say on the job site, the things they won't say at the pub on a Friday, the things they won't say at the footy having a beer with their mates, probably. But if you could do a core drill into their soul and find the truth, what is it? Deep question, I know.
Yeah. Look, I'll start with saying encouragement's a big one.
Right.
And we know through our own relationships with our fathers how important encouragement is,
Right.
and how valid that is in playing a part of you developing your identity, and also knowing what is right or wrong,
Yes.
like boundaries and encouragement. But I think encouragement's a big one, because
Encouragement.
that's why this conversation is important. My hope, I know your hope, is that there's young men that listen to this conversation and
Yes.
feel spurred on
Yes.
to give being a man a crack,
Yes.
and not feel the way that the world has suggested they be, which is pressed down.
Mm.
Don't look like a man. Don't follow the ways of the man. Take that comment on that Instagram post that I mentioned before. No, that's not the way.
Yep.
How dare you say that?
Yes.
That is like, so when a man speaks up, that encourages other men. And so I think encouragement is a
Encouragement.
really big one for young men, to
Yes.
know that you can be a man, you should be a
Yes.
man, and here's how.
Yes.
So encouragement that turns into role modeling and mentorship is
It's a
one.
big deal, isn't it? I mean, I think it's innate in every human heart, and I agree with you. I'm not as in touch with young people like you three are at this stage of my life, but it seems to me from semi-distance that is a big deal for our young women as well, but our young men, that they're looking for and longing for some kind of voice.
Yeah.
Maybe even it doesn't always have to be about the content
No.
of the message, but the heartbeat behind it that says, I'm in your corner.
Yeah.
I'm backing you, you know. I've shared this with you before, and, you know, you guys might have heard me talk about it. I read a parenting book years ago, real tiny, short little book by an author called, which is the favourite style of books for most men, actually, really small, really short. So cliche.
Picture books? Or
Men read books too. Men
Comic
read
book.
books too, you know. How offensive. And his social media feed went crazy. How offensive. Men read too. And the idea in this parenting book by an author called John Eldridge, he basically had this statement to dads saying, if you've got sons, there's a lot to parenting, right? But his central theme was, if you've got sons, your role as a dad is to, this is how he phrased it, he said, 1,000 times in 1,000 different ways, get the message to them, you've got what it takes.
100%.
And I agree with it, because I think it's so, so powerful that, unfortunately, we all arrive in the world with a big fat question mark, and that is, I don't know if I've got what it takes.
Yeah.
And it does take a role of a good, strong, character-based, values-based man to put that message in. What would you say, Joel?
Can I say one more thing before
go
Jolly
for
jumps
it.
in?
Yeah, sorry, Joel.
Just
Go for it, bro.
because.
Mission
Thanks,
granted.
mate.
Do that a bit closer than like get it really baritone.
Go for it, bro.
I think going back to where we started, this is where I think we find ourselves in a really amazing we have a really amazing opportunity right now. Is where, because we talk about that pendulum swing.
Yes.
I think that maybe back in the day, you know, love that phrase, back in the day.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
How far back are we going?
Yeah,
I wasn't born.
Because he's back in the day.
Oh,
He's
there it is.
Prehistoric age.
Yeah. I pre the day.
Yeah, exactly right. I think, and this I'm generalizing here,
Sure.
but I think there was a lack, from what I hear, there used to be a lack of encouragement completely.
Yep.
And it was just like the tone was just get it done, you know,
Yes.
just do it, just go work
right.
hard, like with no encouragement, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I think the pendulum swung to this idea of, you know, be whoever you want to be.
Yeah.
So just, you know, who cares? Just be whoever you want.
Yes.
But I think we find ourselves in this really sweet spot really right now. And the whole world doesn't look like this, but at least I think we have a sweet spot where we can both say, hey, build some resilience.
Yep.
Don't give up on that. And you have what it takes.
Yeah.
So there's like this combo
Right.
of those things.
Yeah, I love that.
And I think it's important for us as men who are
I love
raising
that.
other men.
When you say that, what I do hear good fathering in what you're saying there, and good role modeling, but I hear elite sport in that. When you talk that way, I hear elite sport, because one extreme is, you know, do your bloody job.
Yeah.
The other extreme is, that, mate, look, I know you dropped the ball 38 times today, but I still love you.
Yeah.
You know, they're extremes.
Yeah.
Whereas I actually think the heart of a man is saying, no, tell it to me straight,
Yeah, exactly.
but I need to be convinced you actually care about
Yeah.
me doing my best.
Yeah.
And you get those two together, it seems to be a powerful combo, right?
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think, Joel? What is the cry of the heart for young men today?
Yeah, first of all, I have to agree with that sporting analogy. Like I played sport from a young age, like when I was 4
Yes.
years old, and I had a lot of various different coaches,
Uh-huh.
and a lot of the coaches that I did have, they wanted the best outcomes for us as individuals and a team.
Yep.
And they spoke to us straight,
Yep.
didn't like fluff around, and I believe that what contributed to my growth as a man,
Right.
having those coaches along the way
Yes.
that, and they weren't like the sweet coaches, like,
Sure.
we're here to have fun, and no, they were serious.
Here's
And they
your
were
Macca's Encouragement Award.
like, if we won,
Yeah.
if we won 42-0, we got told we're playing like our grannies are playing better, like,
Right.
and like it was a fair call,
Right.
right? And I think that did help shape me to become the man I am today. But back to your question,
Yes.
what are the young men crying out for? The encouragement's a great one. I feel that these young guys, they're unaware of the idea of contentment and comparison, and being okay to be where you are right
Yes.
now, and to be at peace with that
Right.
is totally okay.
Uh-huh.
And to not have it all worked out, it's part of the journey. We're not going to get from A to B like that. And I think what has driven that, I guess, spike in comparison is like influencers and getting rich quick.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
this whole idea that you can be quite late, like that lazy kind of mentality of being a YouTuber or whatever it is, having
like
fun.
myself. I know you wouldn't say that, Con.
But go back to the Macca's analogy.
I cut him off.
I'm just thinking
Come back to you,
different
Joel.
spin on it. How quick do we get our fast food? You know, you go through the driveway,
Convenience.
you get it within, and if we don't get it
Well,
within
you're
30
cranky in
seconds,
90
We're
seconds.
we're cranky.
Yeah.
We're like
Patient.
the poor 14-year-old that's on his first
Did you
shift.
see what happened there? I said you're cranky in 90 seconds. You said you're cranky in 30
I'm
seconds.
cranky in 30. I'm
See,
like,
it's the
get
young
it done.
blokes. Yeah, it's right.
It's getting shorter and shorter.
Yeah.
So maybe the 3 C's: contentment, comparison, and convenience.
Yes.
But yeah, back to the idea of like, there's so many influences out there
Uh-huh.
living in this, like their reality that
Yep.
they're getting rich off of something that's not like of substance and
Yes.
worth. It's
Yes.
just all hype.
And then I'll be somebody.
that's right.
I'll
And,
have worth then. Right.
and I think a lot of these young guys are seeing that, and that's what they're drawn towards, because
For
that's
sure.
what they're consuming and what they're
Yes.
exposed to so much
Yes.
of the time. And they're not getting that. Most of the real world is not like that.
Yes.
And it's kind of mediocre, and you got to
Yep.
turn up to work
Yep.
to live, pay your bills,
Yep.
and you got to go through that journey
That's
of
right.
life. And there are very few who make it and be successful
Yes.
by what you put into something, or your investment, or your
Totally.
hard work, or sheer luck. If you're
That's
a
right.
YouTuber and you just flipping made it big time.
I'm still waiting for that sheer luck.
Maybe this is the time.
This
This
could be the
podcast.
episode. Hey, this could be the one. No, but you're spot on.
Give him a
I
good hook.
totally agree with you. And look, I think one of the messages that we want to help young men to maybe decode, or to use, current language, to give them a hack. Here's the hack. The hack is there's no hack.
Hmm.
That's one of the biggest hacks of all. Is there's no hack.
Yeah.
The hack is build character, build values, build resilience, because the trap on the other hack is the belief that a shortcut will make you happy quicker.
Mm.
It won't.
No.
Yeah.
So even if you could somehow,
Very
punch millions in your bank account, okay, you'll have nice toys, you'll do nice things, but it will hollow you out as a man,
Mm.
because manhood and masculinity is refined in a fire.
Yeah.
It's not built on a beach.
Mm.
And I'm not saying guys shouldn't enjoy the journey. Of course, enjoy it as best you can. But if you want to become a strong man, a man worth following, hard yards,
Mm.
tough grind.
Yep.
Because the other stuff, like you said, number one, hardly ever exists. It's mostly a mirage, and it doesn't make the men who achieve it better men. It actually makes them worse off. Marcus, coming to you, what's the cry of the heart for our young men?
Yeah, well, I just sort of want to echo that thought. I guess the phrase that kept coming to my head is sort of like they have a dissatisfaction with life, like I did.
Yes.
I still feel like I do some days.
Right.
But it's because of a lack of resilience.
Right.
I think that's the reason why. And I I don't know why this analogy came to head, but I'll say it anyway. Often a lot of young men like can't last in a long-term relationship. And I speak into it now because like I was someone that floated in and out of a relationship before getting married.
Yep.
And it causes like a you have a lack of commitment, and that leads to a dissatisfaction
Yeah, okay.
in whatever you're doing.
Yes.
And yeah, in relationships, for example, men are not rewarded for having a long-term relationship. They're rewarded for, oh, you slept with that girl and that girl and that girl
Right,
and that
right.
girl.
That's true.
Yes.
So young men are finding themselves having to please another person, like following that comparison idea, and then they're trying to find another partner every single
Yes.
week.
Yep.
And then they find themselves dissatisfied
Yeah.
because they can't find themselves to commit to a
Yes.
long-term relationship and
Good point.
be resilient in
Yes.
that relationship.
Yep.
Times get tough, like you're not the best version of yourself 100% of the time, and neither is your
Yes.
partner.
Yep.
But men need to realize, all right, we got to work hard at this.
Yep.
And that's the I've found in the short 2 months of my marriage that when you do work hard at it, you enjoy the fruits of that
course.
marriage. When you're
Of
putting
course.
in the time and the effort and
Totally.
the consistency into making that thing last, that's when the satisfaction
Yes.
comes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, I think for young guys finding that resilience and consistency
Yep.
in that,
Totally.
yeah.
It's that alluring trap again, isn't it? Like, the example you gave there for lots of young guys. Yeah, if I can just sleep with every hot girl I can get my eyes
Yeah.
upon, that'll be awesome.
Mm.
But it doesn't last. It's very temporary, and they end up very broken into pieces.
Yeah.
Again, the McDonald's thing, if I could just get that quarter pounder in my mouth, Joel, then I'll be so satiated until 30 minutes later after your insulin spike and you want another one, So that's part of the message we want to get through to young guys. I'm going to ask you guys one more question before we run out of time. I'll ask it, give you a little bit of thinking time, and then I'll give my own answer to the question. So here's the question. If we had the power somehow, through technology or whatever, to get one message to every young man on the planet, now don't try to think it's got to be the Mount Everest of messages, but, what's something that's important, a message that we could get installed into the belief system of young men everywhere, what would it be? When I think about that myself, probably the thing that I would urge all young men with would be to come back to this idea of an evidence-based pathway. And something that I write about, talk about a lot is this question around who, not how. I would urge all young men to ask themselves, who has been on this path before me? Who has been successful ahead of me? Who has proven that their pathway has got good lasting results? And get more used to asking the who question as opposed to the how question, which is, I'm going to crack the code. I'm going to find the hack. I'm going to prove to everybody how awesome I am, because really a lot of that drive just comes from an insecurity, trying to identify self-worth through results and achievements, when actually the better question is, can I find other men who have been married successfully a long time, who've already built a business, who've got great friends around them, who seem to have good answers to all the questions? Get used to asking who, not how, would be a brilliant habit to get you on the right track. Who's ready to go first? What's your one message with your megaphone to the whole world of young men? Nick, I'm coming to you. No, you're not ready?
I'm not ready.
I'll go.
Joel, hit us
Joel,
with
you're
it.
in.
What's
I
your
like
one
what you
message?
said. That's really like, I guess one of my values is like to see the who, and what the line that came to my mind was check the source.
Check the source. Great.
Seeing we're on quarter pounders,
Oh.
check the source.
Unavoidable.
And what I mean by that is you are the 5 closest friends you hang around is you're the average of those 5 closest people.
Right.
So I guess you got to work out who you want to become in life is step 1.
Right.
And then the second part is figure out, how am I going to do that?
Yeah.
And by checking the source and the people that you are going to involve yourself around or listen to or
Yes.
take in their knowledge and
Yes.
their wisdom, and identify that.
Yep.
And then that will begin to align and shape the path of your purpose and who you want to be
Yes.
in life. And if you so what along the way discover that this isn't this isn't my path.
Mm.
You've cancelled one thing out and you can go to the next thing.
Yes.
And I think that's really important, the
Yep.
process of actually walking that and not staying still.
Yes.
And feel like you're sitting
Yeah,
on a
yeah.
couch.
Yeah.
Excuse the analogy,
Eating
but
that quarter pounder.
eating the quarter pounder. But I feel as though, like, as men, we got to be moving.
Yes.
And it's when we're stationary,
Yeah,
that's
it's
when I feel like
Good.
you're not progressing. And it's not about progression, but it's about moving,
Sure.
constantly moving
growth.
and figuring stuff out and
Totally.
learning and falling
That's
and
it.
going through those hard times, going through the good times.
Yep.
And then that's on that path, you take detours and you figure out along the way who you really want to be.
Yes.
And you don't discover that. And I guess it becomes, there's too much information
Yes.
when you're seated and stationary that
Yep.
you never know.
Totally.
And you're just suffocating
Yep.
yourself with that, with all that noise.
Yeah, for sure. Love it. You two gents? Two bookends? What's your one message? Marcus?
Yeah. I'll just.
Into your microphone, bro, would
Oh
be good.
yeah, use the burrito. I would say think with your head, not your head. I mean,
Wow. I was
mean to
hoping we
say-
get at least one inappropriate comment on this episode. Thank you. You
Shout
waited
out
a
to
long
Glocko
time.
for that one.
Yes,
Um,
please qualify.
I
Yes.
meant to say, yeah, find out what the truth is, and don't trust or don't use your feelings as the main direction, or your main source of truth. Your
Right.
feelings are often very deceptive.
Sure.
So yeah, find out what the truth is and use that to guide your decisions in
Yep.
life.
Be a critical thinker, what you said before.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Awesome. Nick, you got the closer.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a combo, but get someone around you that can speak straight to you. You know,
Okay.
I mentioned encouragement before, but what I was really trying to say, and we touched on it, is that I think young guys need to hear it straight these days, and they
Mm.
want to hear it straight too.
Yes.
And that, you know, I just think that we've got to back ourselves, but we do need the guidance
Mm.
of another man, or men in our life who are
Yeah.
trusted and have the runs on the board. Like
Bit of
you said.
accountability.
Accountability,
Mm.
and
For sure.
you know, maybe that is if we were going to put it into one word, accountability.
Right.
Too many guys try and do it their own way by themselves.
Yes.
We want guys to figure things out by themselves. Joel said, fall over, learn, get back up again.
Sure.
But accountability is huge.
Yes.
It's massive.
Yeah,
So,
brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There is a dominant theme there in our conversation today. I mean, we touched on a lot of things, and if we had time, we could unpack all of this for 12 hours. But the dominant theme that I can hear coming through is this idea of young men need the right voices in their life. Good men, good guidance, good wisdom, mentoring, role modeling, all of that. And I 100% concur with it. Thanks for joining me, you guys. You've been awesome. Appreciate it. Appreciate the inappropriate joke there, Marcus. Joel thinking about quarter pounders and all the rest of it. But really do appreciate it. Look, I'd love you to leave a comment for us. What's your thought? What do our young men need today? What are they crying out for? If you're in your 20s, I would definitely love to hear from you. Do you agree with these guys? Do you agree with us? What's on your mind about navigating the masculine journey? Would absolutely love to hear from you. And I'd love to see you in another video real soon.